Thank Dr. Peter. I'll just give him a second and then we'll...
Hello, good evening. Can you hear me?
We can indeed, loud and clear. Over to you.
Oh, thank you very much. I had a problem with the audio just now. Thank you so much. Good evening, everyone. Good evening. Nice to see you all. Welcome to Let's Coach Live Masterclass. Welcome, everyone. Please turn on your videos and say hello. And all of our research and experience has found that if you keep your videos turned on, the benefit will be more than double. What you will gain and learn out of the program will be more than double. So do keep your videos on for the next 1 hour session. It is my pleasure and privilege to welcome all of you to this Let's Coach Live Masterclass session number 10. So it's been 10 sessions already. And it's a real honor and privilege. We're also excited here this evening to learn from our outstanding master trainer, Sarah Lee Alcaraz, who is also the Executive Director at ITD World, on a very, very intriguing topic, coaching for game-changing innovation. So I'd like to say a big thank you to our CCMC Club alumni, which is Certified Chief Master Coach, led by President Guy Rouse, who is a Chief Master Coach himself. Thank you so much. And to all the committee members, Gregory, who is here also today. Thank you very much, Gregory. And Vice President Gregory and Rick, as well as Master Coach Angela, or should I say Chief Master Coach Angela, and Floris and Muti as well. Thank you all so much for being part of the committee to organize this wonderful sponsored session by CCMC Alumni Club and ITD World. So this live Let's Coach Masterclass is part of ITD World's Love the World Initiative 100 Million Leaders Mandate. And it is our commitment and it is our mandate to touch the lives of 100 million leaders globally with sponsored coaching programs. And today is one such activity. So without further ado, I would like to hand over the torch to Chief Master Coach President Guy Rouse. Let's give him a big hand.
Excellent. Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you, Dr. Peter. As always, a special thanks to ITD World for sponsoring our CCMC Alumni Masterclass. And of course, the CCMC alumni, as Dr. Peter said, is a group of master coaches who want to spread that coaching culture everywhere. And through the Let's Coach Masterclass, we continue to grow our coaches and share that value of coaching to the world. Well, I'm honored today to introduce today's Masterclass speaker, Sarah Lee Alcaraz. Sarah Lee is the Executive Director, as Dr. Peter mentioned, of ITD World in Philippines, and a global leadership training mentor coach and a keynote speaker. She's developed over 100,000 leaders globally, most notable organizations like Accenture, AIG, Chevron, IBM, Toyota, and the United Nations. Sarah Lee is a top master trainer of Thomas Crane's The Heart of Coaching, as well as a number of John Maxwell and Jack Cranfield's programs. She was a former president of both the Philippine Society of Talent Development and the Art2 International. Sarah Lee is a brand laureate awardee and recognized as one of the top 100 Filipinos to follow on LinkedIn. So get clicking and get connected. She is worth connecting to. Now, especially in this time of market turmoil, world disruption, we all need to innovate to keep up with the exponentially changing times. And we need this continuous energy to maintain that innovative momentum to get ahead. And leaders play a critical role to make this happen. And today, Sarah Lee will share valuable tips and techniques on how to drive creativity and innovation through effective coaching skills. So now hold on to your virtual seats and you're about to be blown away with Sarah Lee's coaching for game-changing innovation through achieving breakthrough results and sustainable growth. So a very warm welcome, Sarah Lee, over to you.
Yay, thank you so much, Guy, and of course, Peter. Hello, everyone. Good evening or good afternoon or even good morning, depending on where you are today. And First things first is thank you. Thank you for choosing to be here. So I'm joining you all the way from Manila. It's 8:35 thereabouts here, and we're still up, awake, alive, and yes, enthusiastic to learn more about coaching for game-changing innovation. So warm welcome again to all. And I think the reason why we are all here, we're driven by what Thomas Edison reminds us. If there is a way to do it better, find it. In fact, he didn't even have the word if. There must be a better way to do it. And we are all here. Let's find it. Let's find a way on how to coach people to innovate more, right? As we would always say, innovate or die, So very much a topic, and a topic also close to my heart because I'm impressed. Guy also know my name very well. You see, Sarah Lee is quite an innovation from my parents, Sergio and Elizabeth. So they tried it, they concocted it, pretty innovative, and I would always be forever grateful for them. I know we have limited time together, so I would want to get things started. The game plan is this is not just a regular webinar where you will all just be on your seats. I will get everyone to also participate. And for those who are also viewing this is being live streamed on YouTube, on LinkedIn, as well as Facebook as well. Feel free to interact with us using the comment section. And it would be lovely to really make sure that this is an interactive session. On my agenda, I have 3 items that I would really want to cover for today. First up, let's all, you might say, demystify what we mean by game-changing innovation. How does it differ from other innovations? Right? And then, because this is a masterclass for particularly organized by our alumni, I would be sharing some tools as well. An assessment for innovation skills, or what we call I skills, as well as some coaching questions in order to develop, in order to be able to help our team develop their I skills. And lastly, do a deep dive about creating what we call an innovation culture. This is really something close to my heart, having my very first taste of innovation was learning actually from no less than Tony Buzan on mind mapping. Robert Tucker, he's the author of Driving Growth Through Innovation. Of course, our very own Dr. Peter Chi, all right? And a lot of all of these masters from innovation, and so blessed to be able to share all of this with you today. Let's get things started. I hope you all don't mind. First things first, right? The past 2 to 3 years, I think more than ever, we've actually experienced not just a challenge, not just change, all right? How many of you here have also felt shaken up? All right. Let me see some reaction. Shaken up, huh? All right. Do you felt you were scared and then shook some more? And then were we also bored? We were all kicked out of our comfort zones. Okay. Hi, AC. And hi, Dr. Kat. Right. So many things has happened to us. Right. And everything kind of points to disruption. Huh? So I want to delve deeper on this topic. And one way of doing that is kind of getting, especially those who are in the room, those on Zoom, and kind of get you to participate as well through a Mentimeter exercise. All right. I'll give you some options. My suggestion, when you go to Menti, my colleague will also put a link on the chat box. At the same time, those who are seeing the screen, you have your QR code. Go to Menti. The code is there, 47982514. And my suggestion is, if you're using your handy phone, to stay on Menti until the end of the presentation. I've loaded my presentation on Menti, so you can also follow along, aside from being able to see all of this on Zoom. So excited to be able to really get everyone, okay, into the groove. So let me just, okay, all right. So if we're all on Menti, let's kick this off. And I want to give some options to everyone. Okay? You can reply here at the same time, and I'll hide the results for now, okay? But just key in, during the last 2 to 3 years, what game-changing innovations have you seen? Right? Remember the shaken and stirred and disrupted? Game-changing innovations have you seen in order to deal with all of these disruptions? For those who might not be able to access Menti for one reason or another, Mentimeter, feel free to go to the chat box, do that. And at the same time, just as an icebreaker of some sort, I want to actually ask some people in the audience, all right, to kind of share with us, verbally, what game-changing innovations have you seen recently? Okay, all right, nice. I see folks typing. Don't worry if you don't see what you have typed yet. I think Mentimeter now made that innovation to hide the results from us. Okay. All right. Yeah. What innovations have you seen? And I will also take a look at the chat box and get to see, okay, some are already saying Zoom, Zoom. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, you have that as well. Okay. Let me now okay. I think some have already inputted their results too. Let's see. Okay. I want to be able to get to show your results. Wow, quite a lot. Okay. Things that we haven't imagined. COVID home test kits. I think even the kiosks that you all see, of course, working from home. How many of you here are still on working from home? Yeah, yeah, I see. Yes, Greg, Lan. Yeah, quite a number, guy. All right. Yeah, or maybe hybrid. I think that is really the way to go. That's what we've seen. That's what we've seen things happening. So of course, yeah, whatever platforms, okay, they even say whatever it takes. Just yesterday, Take B, Gita, some of my participants are here. We were on MS Teams, could be WebEx, could be Zoom, moving to virtual, James Webb Telescope, virtual world, vertical farming, particularly even here in Philippines, we have those who are so, enamored by their plants. They didn't know how they would have lived their life without their plants. We found we found hobbies. So all of this, innovations, online training, digital transformation, learning online, agile, 5G, the fashionable masks. Oh yeah, that's already part of our wardrobe, online ordering, everything virtual, right? Everything virtual. Thank you, everyone. Indeed. In fact, even for us, at ITD, that's really what we found. And I want to give a shout out to Dr. Kat, who is also here. I still remember around April or so, she gathered all of us trainers together. And as a group, we were really able to kind of, process all the changes that need to happen, get us familiar with all the online platforms. In fact, even the Certified Chief Master Coach program was born out of the pandemic. So indeed, so many changes that we have seen. In fact, these are just some of the game changers, all right? Game changing innovations that you've seen. Remember before we have to go to, banks and all, DocuSign, sign everything. But now we have all of those softwares, like DocuSign. And some of these innovations even dated before the pandemic. Automated vehicles, Tesla, electric, electric cars, the boom of your Netflix, and and everything transitioning now to online. Apple Music, Google Play. Yeah, Airbnb had to kind of experience its own challenges, but guess what? Um we are now kind of shifting, no, moving back into it, seeing now what we call revenge travel. All right, revenge travel. And healthcare, definitely something that we have been more aware of and really valued. Everything, no, health is definitely wealth, and you would have all of those innovations. Vaccines would be considered as one of those, and are all our test kits. Online shopping for one. So you have all of this for us now. Having seen this, and we will have a discussion of more game changers to follow. There is such a thing as sustaining innovation as well as disruptive innovation. I think for many of us, and this session, we're kind of focusing a bit, no, on disruptive innovation, where you know we're all unsure. It's a new market out there, and I don't even understand the problem. It's like, um, it's so dramatic. Our world stopped. No, so game changing. But I want us to focus that, we would also have some of those sustaining innovation. They may not be as earth shaking, but they're the ones that we more frequently encounter. Existing markets, it can even be incremental innovations. How can we lower our costs? How can we increase our revenue? How can we improve performance? We even say innovation is not really an event, it's not a product, it's actually a process. It's how we actually do things. No? And always having that mindset, let's innovate. Okay, let's continue to make things better. Okay, and find it. No, and find it. So let's continue on with that. Usually, with sustaining, the customer is aware. Somehow we know it's needed by the business, it's predictable market, and yeah, it's something that we integrate into the business model. But for disruptive, and this is what we've seen, disruptive innovations is actually when we never see it coming. Okay, and perhaps as the reason why we have seen, we won't, maybe COVID might not be quite an innovation, but how we quickly would respond to it. And now that we have seen it work, we have seen so many things now coming into play. And traditional business methods, might not work on this. And that's the reason why it's not anymore just smooth sailing. We are riding a tidal wave. So, having said all of this, the game plan is now to kind of see. We do have some of those incremental innovations happening, but be aware as well of that breakthrough, disruptive innovations that people in this room, people who are also listening to us, we might be, and we are claiming to be the ambassadors of these innovation. So let me give a quick assignment to everyone, as we might not have enough time to cover it, but to be more aware of what we call innovation opportunities, even in our respective organizations. And what are these? I mentioned could be incremental innovations, could be substantial innovations, could even be breakthrough. Incremental mini steps, like when Coke introduced their Coke Light, and Coke Zero, some incremental. Substantial, we already get to see, for example, that DocuSign that I shared with all of you. But a breakthrough could be, the one-click ordering of Amazon and all. So there would be different ways of seeing these innovation opportunities. Take a closer look at your organization. What would be some product innovations that you are really proud of, process innovations, as well as strategy innovations? And I'll invite everyone, feel free. You can put it also on the chat box. If something comes up to you, like be proud. Okay, I've seen some of those in the room, the organizations that we represent, and proud that we have contributed, perhaps that incremental, even your substantial breakthrough innovations, not only in your products, perhaps even in your processes, the way that you do things, as well as in our strategy. Mm. Okay. Breathe. Quite a lot. All right. And for those, I will also send my email address as well if you want a copy of my slides and all. That is something that I'll be more than happy to share with everyone. Okay. So now that we have, and please do reserve your questions. Guy mentioned we'll make sure we have some time for that towards the end. So now that we have been discussing all of this, right? All of these game-changing innovations, at the same time, ensuring that we don't forget some of those sustaining innovations as well. Let's take now a closer look, right? Let's take a closer look at this time what we call innovation skills, or I'd like to term it also as I skills. And for this particular segment, I hope you're still on Menti. I saw some, yeah, if you prefer to really use it here, that's fine. But this is again the Menti link. This time, I'll invite everyone. For us to think about what are the skills and behaviors that we actually see in an innovator. What are the skills and behaviors that we see in innovators? And for those who can't access also your Menti, feel free to put them on the chat box. Those listening to us, you can put it on your comments, right? What are the skills? What are the behaviors that we see as well in innovators? Right? And I'll reveal some of the results shortly. Okay. And while you're typing, I think your mind is going, do I have that? Is that something that I'm already applying? That's what we have so far. And I like to congratulate my innovators and coaches in the room. Yeah, I would have to say Mentimeter, Slido, quizzes, Kahoot are also valuable innovations that came for trainers and coaches like myself. All right, let's see what to have here. Wow, very much so. Obviously, the creativity component is there. Maybe some of you might be wondering, we will always say that creativity would be coming up with those ideas. Innovation will be bringing it to life. Hmm. The curiosity, yeah. Some are telling me, but Sarah Lee, curiosity killed the cat, right? I have a response to that. But the cat has 9 lives, right? Kill it once. I still have 8 left. So that's okay. Be curious. ABC. Always be curious. Challenging the status quo. Persistent. Keep on trying. I plan to actually share as well, all of our mentee, okay, all of our mentee feedback, no, the mentee responses, the never give up, the grit, the resilience, keep on trying, and being daring to be different. They even say think outside of the box. I have a colleague, a fellow trainer who says, it's not just think outside of the box, get rid of the box. Okay. Who put the box there in the first place? So investigating, fearless, relentless, experimenting, etc., networking and all. Thanks so much, everyone. I'd like to, yeah, after this, I'd like to kind of spend a bit of time. There's a lot of those skills and behaviors that we see. And true enough, these I skills and my first encounter with these I skills was actually with Robert Tucker from Driving Growth Through Innovation. And many of what you've mentioned are actually on this list. Okay? It's as if you've seen, okay, this slide before, right? Everything that you shared, from that opportunity mindset, from the adding value, from being a networker, these are all the I skills. So, and that is the reason why what I did is build on this and develop my own set of I skills, you might say, of innovation skills. And I came up with Dan. And I would like to invite everyone, we're making very good time, to do a bit of self-assessment. So I hope you are still on Menti. All right. And for those who are not, that's fine. You can also do your own numbers, no? Your own evaluation. This would be the first 5 I skills. See all the keywords, right? Being observant and curious. I kind of put them together. Asking questions and listening. Coaches, okay, we're in very good company. The big picture, having that helicopter view in the work that you do, opportunity seeking, right? And of course, opportunity leveraging would be part of that, and engaging as well as collaboration. So at this point, right, this would now be, I would want to invite everyone on a scale of 1 to 10. 10 would be the highest. How would you rate yourself in these skill areas? Right? So go ahead and do that. I'll reveal the results shortly. And I'll give you some time. Right? Yeah. How are we faring when it comes to these I skills? And thank you in advance for putting in. Thank you, Grace. Yeah. All right. Yeah, Beth, no? Yeah. Curious George. Let's see. Let's see. And it's totally anonymous, all right? So feel free to rate yourselves as candidly as you can. Let's see the initial results. What I did is ensure that there's a bit of average, right? That we can see from here. And for now, we have about like 27 respondents thereabouts. Okay. What's working well is, I think, the curiosity, right? Yeah, and something that I've also seen as well, and now it's so easy, right? Curious about something. Hey, TYG. Thank you, Google. So I can, all right, and I just search. No? It's all right there. So it's observing and seeing the big picture is what I see from this group. Right. Maybe something that might be a bit challenging is looking for opportunities at every turn. maybe and I remember even during the pandemic, that I think is something that, do we see an opportunity here? And when things get really tough, that's where looking for opportunities at every turn. So it's being that mindful. I remember conducting a session where we say, come, you take a closer look, what would be the irritants, what are you typically complaining about, what are you also, what do you see as really challenges, and let's convert that into actual opportunities. So thank you for these responses. First five. Okay. First five. Okay. I will move on. Okay. And take a closer look now at the remaining five skills and behaviors. And many of these you have also seen, like learning from others. So being a sponge, taking calculated risks, experimenting. And what about willing to fail? Yeah, but yeah, learning from that failure, welcoming that feedback, as well as selling our ideas. So, friends, let's take a closer look at all of these. How would you rate yourself in these skill areas? From your learning, okay, learning outside of your niche, from welcoming all of those feedback, selling your ideas, okay, and yeah, the willingness to fail but learn from the failures. All right, let's see now.
I don't like to fail.
Peter, yeah, yeah. Ah, what they said, the number of failures that we have, greater chances of really achieving our desired goals. Yeah, thank you. Thanks for that. Any other comments? Just feel free to unmute while we're waiting also for the others to while we're waiting for the others as well to rate themselves. Yeah. Nice. Nice. Right. Have you done a similar innovation skills assessment before? Uh, some are, yeah, I see some of the nods. Some not yet. All right. So thank you. Thank you. All right. First time. Thanks, Gregory. Yeah, not yet, Will. Okay. So it's nice to be able to, to a certain extent, it's looking at ourselves in the mirror. I remember there was even one time our instruction here was not only your self rating. How do you think your colleagues will rate you? How do you think your boss will rate you? Because sometimes this would just be like an internal ruler that we have, but it's also how we come across. Are you seen as the go-to innovator, that you have that we really contribute to discussions and really make it happen? We're counted on for brainstorming as well as really being able to execute and implement. Never done before, Edwin. Thank you. So what do we see here? Yeah, the calculated risks, the willingness to fail, sometimes even selling the ideas could be potential areas. Well, on average, no, on average, compared perhaps to learning from outside. And I think that's the reason why we're here, right? An opportunity to learn, as well as welcoming feedback, using it to grow. I think those would be areas that would be typically rated higher, but 7, 8, and 10 would be something for us to look into. Assignment to my dear coaches and innovators. Take a closer look. I know you might not have kept all your ratings because you did that on Mentimeter. But perhaps an assignment is for us to go back to some of these questions, some of these innovation skills and behaviors, and get to see what can I do to make it a 10, right? Because if you've rated yourself, for example, we have an average of that 6.9, 6.7. What can I do to make that a 10? Something for us to actually yeah, it's something to share as well if you have colleagues here, something to commit to doing. And yeah, if some would want to share it as well on the chat box. All right, I think we still have a little bit of time. Yeah, just feel free, share it in the chat box. If there are some who would also want to unmute and share, we'll be more than happy, okay, to accommodate you as well. What can make this a 10? Okay. Yeah. Something for us to look into, huh? Yeah. Okay. Let me see. Let me see for some. Okay. Sephora mentioned she has done this before. Great, great, great. Like for me, for example, perhaps one for me is an awareness. No, the awareness of yeah, that okay, let me try. Okay. Yeah, not this is also a bit on the bouncing forward. Every time, every time. Greg says, Gregory, you wanna unmute, my friend? All right. Engage in a discussion. Yeah,
Sure,
go.
sure, Sarah. Can you hear me?
Yes, you hear you loud and clear.
Yeah. Yeah, I said that, yeah, feedback is a hard one because, you can say you're open to feedback, but the question is, how often do we actually get feedback? You might be open for it, but how many times do we have the tools, the things in place? How many times do we take the initiative to actually ask for feedback? And yeah, so I think I can improve on that. And it's about having a system, I think, a process about how do you make sure that you're getting it.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. That's true. Correct. It's like a muscle, no? Developing it as well, and more than that, acting on that feedback, as you have mentioned, is really the litmus test. Thank you. Right. And perhaps just one more. Okay. Yeah, Lanan. Okay. Miss Lan. Thank you. Go ahead.
In my opinion, the last one, to sell ideas effectively require some further skills, such as presenting my ideas or making prototype, etc. And also, in order to influence other, it is a kind of leadership. So I also need leadership skills for such kind of innovation. To be innovator, yeah, we also need to be kind of leader.
So true. So true. Thank you, Ms. Lan. Thank you. Andy also mentioned here authentic learning from others is hard. Yeah. Yeah, very much so. And in fact, I think that's also why Miss Lan mentioned leadership, right? Because it's influencing others, especially when we get to sell our ideas, and they're also like revolutionary ideas, out of the box ideas. So all the more that we really, really need to be able to sell it. Thank you, everyone. Thank you. Thanks for that engagement as well. So having said that, let's take now a closer, and I'm now moving towards the last segment of our session, and that is now our looking into the coaching tool. Right, the coaching tool and this is for the I skills. So just before we go to innovation culture, so now that we're able to deep dive on that assessment, the key here is always looking into, yeah, how can this is coaching, right, for game changing innovation. How can we draw out No? How can we even have a greater insight as to the I skills of our team members? So what I have here is a total of 8 questions, right? And while we're doing that, I want you to take note of some of the key questions that for you is really relevant. No? It stands out for you. For example, questions like, so what's currently working? No? So it's like a current situation assessment. What is not? What does our customer need? Or what do you think they value the most? So it's kind of finding out all of this information, the opportunities. What opportunities can you leverage on? And also asking your coachee, asking the innovator, asking your team member. So what's our goal? What do you want to achieve? So this would be some of the deep dive. Okay. Of course, another approach to do it is after having gone through the I scales, maybe that question I ask you, what can make that a 10, could also be a potential coaching question. Right? And then moving perhaps into some of these, where can you look to get inspiration and ideas, especially when they get stuck? Best practices you can combine as well as adopt for innovation. What what about what can you do differently? So to create all of these game changes. And this one, what skills do we already have or do you already have and what is missing? So I'll be sharing, and feel free, some of you can also, share this, a screenshot, this content as well. This would be just some of the coaching questions that we can share with all of you, especially when it comes to I skills. Right? Any of the questions that struck you as well? So this would be the four, yeah, the last four. Please feel free to put it on the chat box too. Yeah. What are some of those coaching questions that you think would be relevant? All right.
So I get inspiration when I talk to Martin Grunberg. Yeah, because
Okay,
he tells
Peter.
me it's all a freaking story. So I have to create the stories in my mind first if I want to change anything. So I get the inspiration from Martin Grunberg. Thank you, Martin.
Hi, thank you. Thank you, Peter. Thank you, Martin. So that's key question number 5. Right. Thank you. Thank you. Cool.
I don't
Anyone
know, Martin,
else?
are you there? But we can't hear you. You can mute. Perhaps
Is
you want to say
Martin
something.
there?
Yeah,
Okay.
Martin is the guy who is the creator of Habit Factor. Yeah, he's the habit change guru. Yeah, but anyway,
Wow.
Martin is muted. Yeah.
Thank you.
He
Thank
may
you.
be mute. I may be muted. Yeah, but you need to unmute, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you want to say something, you need to unmute, right, Martin? I think you can unmute, right? Can't you? Ask to unmute. Okay, I asked you to unmute. Actually, everyone can unmute. Yeah.
There we go.
Yeah.
Yay.
Hello.
Hi, Martin.
Thank you. Thank you. And apologies. My laptop decided to not work with the video as of yesterday. So thank you though. This is
No
great.
worries. No worries. Thanks, Martin. Right. Thank you. Thank you. So yeah, so many questions. And you would say sometimes so little time. So I'll get going. All right, for the last segment, we're down to the last 15 minutes or so. I might. Guy, I might need a little extension for the Q&A. I plan to maximize all all my 15 minutes remaining. So for innovation culture, right? This would be my last for the mentee series. Just a survey from everyone, right? And you can also put it on the chat box too, but if you can put it here as well. Which companies do you think would be consistently recognized as most innovative? But I have one more question to you. Why? So if you name a particular, a particular company, yeah, feel free to share why. And while we're doing that, I'll also open the floor. Maybe some of you would also want to kind of do a shout out. Some one time when I did this, I have some participants. Of course, my organization will be part of it, right? Proud, yeah. Why not? Okay, sure, sure. Yeah, true. Sephora says, no, innovation coaches, thank you, a concrete framework to help with the process. Yeah, so the client can focus on so that the client can focus on the content. True enough, yeah, yes, yes. Very much so. Although the usual framework that we would often use, no, like our grow model or from our transformational coaching models, the context, no, the context would be the one that we would be really looking into. So thanks. We'll cover that some more as we when during our Q&A. So thank you. I see a lot of the consistent, okay, Apple for their breakthrough products, your Tesla, Samsung, SpaceX, Alphabet. Yeah, so you would have all of this as well. Um, as with moonshots, IT. All right. Yep, yep, yep. So different companies, and even if you don't see some of your responses here, we'll be able to see that as well in a moment. So when we have all of the screens, and some are already, Maria mentioned even Amazon. So yeah, thank you, thank you. And perhaps one of the reasons, right? So they would have all of these breakthrough products, you would have all of this. So I, I'm not so sure whether everyone is aware that, okay, I'll move on. And I know there's still quite a lot of those who have shared. So just keep it coming. It's going to be recorded too. There are companies like Fast Company, okay, BCG, Boston Consulting Group, Forbes, and all that keep track of the most innovative companies. In fact, so this one, I would like to already extend an apology if the fonts might be too small. Glad that we're using as well our laptops. And what do you see here? I thought of sharing this because it tracks the most innovative companies from 2005 all the way to about 2021. And you see that around the first five are more or less consistent. Apple, Google or Alphabet, Amazon, Microsoft, Tesla, and so on and so forth, right? Thank you, Maribel. Maribel says ITD. Thank you. So yeah, so there's a lot of these most innovative companies. Some of those you've mentioned on your list are also actually here. Yeah. So you have that. So I thought of tracing all of this and getting to see what we have in store. Then some are saying, but Sarah Lee, you only have about 20 on your list. Well, I'm happy to report. I'm very glad to share with you all 50. So this is more a bit historical. Those that we see are consistent. Some are actually a bit new. I have seen, for example, but from this list, I was reviewing it. Yeah, these are what we call sometimes the usual suspects. All right. But year in, year out, there will be some who will be sharing, posting, some would be by nomination, the most innovative companies. So get to see this. And what I want to point out is kind of get to see not only just about their products, but more than that, get to see also their culture, what made them really, really stand out. And I know we don't have as much of the time that we need, but within the time remaining, I like to showcase two of those companies and get to see that if we're going to be able to coach, okay, for innovation, and coach for culture, what could be some of those that what are some of those coaching questions also that we can use as we get to dig deeper about their culture. The first one is, of course, think different. Apple. So I saw some of you mention because of their, because of all the products that they have and how they have actually more than think different. I think they also say think simple. Okay. They've simplified everything. They've actually aligned, combined everything such that it's like a one-stop shop. If you're Apple also all the way. Everything is so in sync. I thought of sharing some pieces of the culture, right? That I've seen as well. That what they have done, for example, start with customers, customer experience first, work backwards, towards technology. The way that they studied competition, so not afraid to enter new markets. It's so easy to just focus on, so if we're really good on laptops, on computers, and that's it. Now, of course, you have your Apple Watch. Any of the markets that you see as possibilities, we will go ahead and do it. Having the right people on the bus is also part of the culture that we're looking at. The ability for folks to actually see how everything gets aligned, from end to end, from A to Z. And I mentioned this earlier, the ability also to simplify. So everything, it's the usability. For those who are interested, there is also a book called Innovation Secrets of Steve Jobs. You might also want to check it out. We know that, because Steve Jobs is very much Apple. So there's a lot of the secrets for innovation that he will also share in that book. Last two things before we open the floor for questions. Amazon Prime and actually Amazon.com. Okay. Of course, now they have balloon all over the place. And I was just reading about this couple of weeks ago. I wanted to ensure, yeah, this is a bookstore. Okay. Started with, just Amazon and how it has grown now. And it also made me realize that now they were saying there, they really don't make as much money on the shopping, the whole Amazon store that we would have seen. But there are some subsidiaries, some companies that will really contribute to the bottom line, like their Amazon Web Services. No? So there's a lot of things. And of course, no? So if you have Steve Jobs, you also have Jeff Bezos here. No? And this would be their marketplace breakthrough innovations that they would have. So their one-click purchase, their product reviews, their personalized recommendations, everything all in one place. And yes, being able to diversify would be another one that they could really look into. So, and what does it have to say about their culture? They do have the culture of innovation. And that is the last piece that we will actually be covering for today. Uh, so that obsession with their customers, sometimes they're also the willingness not only to fail, the willingness to be misunderstood even for a long time. So having that long-term thinking as well, and everything that we have actually been sharing since earlier. And so, okay, so after just seeing those two case studies, right? Um, Now we go into our culture elements. And as we wind down for today, right, I want to share with you these 8 building blocks for innovation that once we start, for example, coaching people, so the earlier coaching would be some more on the I skills, no, as a tool, allowing folks to develop that as well. This time would be coaching tools that we can use when we're looking into coaching leaders, most likely on how to build an innovation culture in their respective companies. So what are those elements that we're looking into? Of course, we begin with our strategy. Have they already thought about this? What would be their approach? Are we looking at the sustaining innovation? Are we looking at radical or disruptive innovation? So where are we at? Who would be our champions? So if there are no champions on leading and on innovation, then we would not have those who will drumbeat it, who will really, make sure that this is consistently happening. Budgets and resources would also need to be allocated for this. I know I've worked with also some companies, a company that would really make sure X% of their revenue really goes to their innovation. Some would call it R&D, but this goes even beyond your research and development. So allocating really a budget for that, a team for that. All right. The I skills that we mentioned is actually part and parcel of this as well. So we have covered that too. And then what we have also seen for many of this, Apple included, as well as Amazon, um, is that there are really set rewards and metrics. Innovation is actually a system. So it is really built. They have it there. They know, no, so it's actually measured. They would even have their celebration and recognition for those of ICE it. Okay, eyes for innovation, creativity, and even entrepreneurship. So all of this, and it's not only limited to a particular department. The whole enterprise is actually involved. That's why it's part of a culture. Some even get things started with their collaborators, with their customers, and even with their stakeholders. So I know this is not as sufficient a time to really deep dive into your coaching for innovation, but I hope this would give you a bit of that insight as to the different building blocks for the innovation model. And therefore, we can come up with different questions as well. Now, let me engage. I still have, I'm down to my last minute or so, but there would be some questions, right? There would be some coaching questions that we can definitely integrate. And let me show this to you as well. And then and same as before, okay? Like how Peter answered it, let me know which questions you think struck you, which questions you think would be, even for you, this is something that, yeah, I want a coach to be able to ask me this. Okay. Questions like what? Okay. So, how can innovation reinvent your vision and strategy? How can it be aligned? Okay. How would you select and develop innovation champions? How would you go about, right? Selecting and developing them. Okay. Resources and capabilities needed to enable an innovation culture. So you would kind of, okay. So, so this is actually piggybacking from the building blocks of innovation that we have seen. Systems, measurements, and rewards will drive the innovation culture. What kind of activities and initiatives would be needed to accelerate? And how are we going to engage our stakeholders to collaborate for innovation? So, yeah, quite a lot of those questions to jump off our as a springboard for our coaching for game changing innovation? Yeah. Which questions do you think would be something that you would want to actually answer at this point in time?
Yeah,
Uh,
I think
Peter?
maybe we need to engage and bring in more people who are willing to fail fast and fail cheap and learn fast.
Yeah.
Fail fast, fail cheap, and learn fast. Yeah, so the innovation can
That's
happen
true.
faster. Yeah,
That's true. That's true. Yeah. The I skills, right, Peter? The
that
I
will be answering one
skills.
of your questions just now on what capabilities are required. Yeah.
Correct. 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 Thank you. Thank you. True. Yeah. Resources and capabilities to enable the innovation culture. Number 3. Thanks. Thanks. All righty. Guy is looking at me now. Okay.
Yes.
All right.
Wow.
Okay. So I'll turn it over to you.
How about any questions from anyone? Does anyone have any questions? Any last questions for Sarah Lee? Just open your mic, say something. Yes, Coach Gregory.
Yeah, I'm back with a question. It's a bit of a consideration because we talk about innovation and you talk about, how can this be aligned strategically with what a company is aiming for. And it actually raised in my mind a question of ethics in a way, which is, what do you think about, is innovation always for good? Should we actually want always innovation?
Gregory's question, right? So it's kind of the balance, no? Are we always going to be striving for innovation? Or would there be part of, nah, we're just cool with, we're cool with some of the status quo. Did I get that question correctly, Greg?
Well, it's more around the fact that, is innovation always for the good of, if I'm grand, I would talk humanity, okay, like us on this planet, the planet itself. Is it bringing the best out of us? So it's a bit of a question around, and maybe it links to coaching. Should we coach for innovation all the companies, or are there ethics consideration that as coaches we should take? So innovation into weapons manufacturing company, for instance. I mean, I'm taking extremes here.
Yeah.
It brings the
Correct,
ethics
correct.
dimension.
Yep. And all the more, Gregory, that I think that's the reason why we are reviewing both vision, strategy. I might even go as far as values, okay, in order to really check out whether it is innovation. Again, for us, what we're really looking at here is that, so there would be one that that would encompass the radical and disruptive, yeah. But I was also telling folks about the sustaining innovation. So there will just be, all throughout, there will be some of these innovations that will happen in the organization. But those major ones, especially the ones that you're really going to go after, the ones where you will put in all the resources, right? I think that one should really be a for me, there should, it should be part of a strategic discussion, uh, so that to make sure, and involving even your stakeholders could even be part of that. What might happen though could be, you might, if for example you also just kind of waited and get to see, the environment could be the one that will cause you to innovate, right? It becomes now reactive rather than a, we're going here and setting that direction. That ethics is also really, yeah, that's I would say a gray area, my friend. So yeah, but true enough, it's really up to the values, the vision of the organization and what they have set out to do. That would
Thank you.
be
Excellent.
my,
Thank you, Coach Greg.
that.
So one last question. Laman, you had your hand up earlier. You want to just share your question?
Yes, thank you, Guy. My question regarding to the organizational culture. how to build a culture of innovation. So my first thing is about the core value of the organization. So what kind of coaching question that I can ask the CEO or the chairman of the company regarding to the organizational value that he or she can help his workforce to build a culture of innovation. So could you please suggest some coaching question
Right,
to the CEO?
Coaching question to the CEO. Okay. Right.
To
And
lead to the culture of innovation.
the culture of innovation. Yeah. I think I can piggyback on some of the questions that we asked earlier. I'll be curious about about the strategy, right? So asking the CEO about vision. In fact,
Yeah.
if that can be a start of point, the vision for the organization, how he plans to be able to um really go through whatever challenges. If there is one thing that he would change in the organization, what would it be? Right? Because change actually brings about that whole that whole discussion on innovation. So Lan, another one. On a scale of 1 to 10, how would he rate innovation in the company? Okay.
Yes.
So you can get an
Yes.
existing rating, yeah?
Yes. And we can find the gap. Yeah, the gap.
And the gap
Thank
would
you.
also
Thank
be
you very much. Yes.
Great
You're
question.
welcome. Thank you.
An
That also
excellent.
made
Thank
me
you.
think. Right on. Thanks, Lan.
Excellent questions there. Thank you. And excellent questions in return, Sarah Lee. Dr. Peter.
Okay, thank you so much. I think it's been a wonderful session, very well spent the last 1 hour. I myself have taken quite a lot of notes. I note down some of the key learnings. Obviously, Sarah Lee, you talk about there are different levels of innovation, right? It's not necessarily just a game-changing breakthrough. We can start with incremental and then we can step it up to substantial and then eventually get to the breakthroughs, right? So we can have many small innovations eventually connecting to a very big one. So that's nice. And it's not just about products. We can innovate on our processes and we can also look into the strategic innovation as well, like, for example, the business model and so on and so forth, right? So that's really wonderful. And it's also a lot about building the skills and the behaviors, right? And then you have given a very nice assessment. I think that's really wonderful. One of the things I noticed is that one of the skills is about networking, right? To be a networker, to observe what's going on and then be able to connect the dots. And that's one of the key qualities that we see in people like Steve Jobs having that, right? And I also note that probably one of the lowest scores that I've ever seen, and I see it almost everywhere, is that willingness to fail, right? That willingness to fail and to learn from it, right? So obviously one of those key roadblocks is probably people who are fearful, right? They are fearful and they have the fear of failure. So the key is to actually transform that fear to fearlessness. So that's wonderful. And then you have also given us a lot of great coaching questions, how to build up the I skills and also create an innovation culture, which I think is the core success factor of all these great organizations that you talk about, right? When you talk about the top 50 innovative companies, they have made it sustainable because they have created a culture. And so that's why it's sustainable. And I was a little bit surprised to see Siemens there at number 11. I wasn't quite sure if Siemens should be there because I've not seen some innovation from this German company for a while though, but it's a bit surprised. But then obviously Apple, Google, Amazon, and so on are right up there. So that's interesting to see. And then at the end, you've given us the 8 building blocks, and that's a good structure of how to build up the culture along with great coaching questions. So thank you very much, Sarah Lee. I think it has been though short, sharp, and focused, but very insightful session. So let's give her a big hand. Thank you very much. Really appreciate your sharing here today. We look forward to learning more from you. And back to President Guy Ross. Please go ahead.
Excellent. Thank you, Dr. Peter. Great summary. Innovation is so important today, and our I skills are what will make it happen. So innovation is a process and not a product. I like that statement, Sarah Lee. And you give us really much to reflect on and also to reflect inwardly and to consider. A really big thank you, Sarah Lee. A very fitting master class for the world today. Everyone, Cyrily is a truly outstanding master trainer, and you can see why she's in the top 100 Filipinos to follow on LinkedIn. And thank you so much for delivering this session today. And if you'd like, anyone in the audience would like to, Cyrily, to deliver a workshop for you, your team, or even an organization, this can be in person or even online. Go back to what we've done in the pandemic times. And please feel free to connect with ITD World. Click on the link below and in the chat and submit an inquiry. So once again, a great thank you everyone for joining us today. It's been wonderful seeing you, and thanks for all those cameras being turned on. Dr. Peter, ITD World, and a great thank you to see you, Cyrily. Fantastic, lovely. All the best.
Thank you, everyone. Nice to see all of you.
Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you, Cyrily.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you, Edwin. Thanks.
Thank you,
All the
Cyrily.
best.
Good night,
Thank you,
everyone.
Dad. Good
Have a
night.
wonderful evening.